Fortune cookies. You guys into those things? Hey there, guys. How are you guys doing? Warren here. If you're new here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. But yeah, I brought it up because the other day I went and got some lunch and I got a fortune cookie in my lunch. And normally I just immediately toss them simply because I don't believe in them. And even though it's just a half a mouthful of sugar, I'd rather not, right? But this one, for some reason, got my attention. So I cracked it open and sure enough, as expected, it said, you should pursue your passions. And I thought, ooh, how original. What were you going to say? Not to? How absurd, right? But then after getting over the chuckle, I thought about it and I'm like, how many of us though really truly don't pursue our passions? And I get it. So let me take life getting a vote off the table. I often say that. And what do I mean by that? Things happen. Deaths, job loss, natural disasters. I mean, you name it, right? Life, the universe gets a vote. So taking those things off the table, and I'm going to circle back to that too. But taking that off the table initially, why don't we? Why don't we? And we use all the excuses that we can find. And I know that we do because I'm going to use myself as an example, not because I'm unique, far from it, especially in this context. But I took the unconventional route to a formal education, to a master's degree. And when I say unconventional, I'm talking about distant learning, online, you name it. Everything to include in the classroom. And that's because of my military career. And that include being deployed, weak signals and all. I would still be in my CHU, what is a container housing unit, is the nickname CHU for that. And I would be in my CHU after patrols or on days off, just grinding and sometimes not, right? So I also know that even though we're adult learners, we do the same bad habits that the youngsters do. We skip doing the readings, we skip doing the papers, and then we cram, right? But I get it. But I did use some of the excuses. It took me until in my 40s to complete my master's degree, and some would argue that you're complaining, we're still working on it. Double thumbs up, keep going. But I thought that was a little late because I had other aspirations, but that's beside the point. But I came up with the same excuses for why I could put it on hold. And the biggest one I came up with that we all use is I have time. And in the military, we often say there are two things you're not going to get in the drop-down menu of operations. And that is more people and more time. And you can translate that to the civilian world. People you might get more of, right? Because of the uniqueness of the situation. It's not combat. But nobody gets more time, really, because the minute you lose it, you've lost it, right? So, but we often say, when I get more time, and then we never circle back to it. We never circle back to ourselves. And I think we owe ourselves that. We owe ourselves that because, and it's not necessarily formal degrees. It's just whatever that passion is. You're not going to be fulfilled, I don't think, until you give it a shot and find out if you could have done the thing to begin with, right? Because it could be, I don't know, skydiving. It could be one of those skywalk things they do in high towers these days. Anything at all. If you have the opportunity to do it, why is it that we cheat ourselves of doing that? And like I said, the only excuse we really have is none. Because I took life getting a vote off the table, and I said I would circle back to life getting a vote. Let's say life does get a vote. It also doesn't get a vote all the time. I know that sometimes when it rains, it does pour. I know that. I understand that. But that's not always the case, right? It's not always the case. We get a break sometimes. But when we get that break, why is it that we don't revisit? our passions. And some of it, I'm just going to lean in and tell you what the next big one is, next to thinking we have more time. We're just lazy. We become lazy because we've put it off for so long, and of course we age, and maybe that thing requires a younger body. I'm just saying it might. And I don't mean to make light of it, but you see what I mean with time, right? If you keep putting it off, sooner or later that thing just becomes a thing you thought about instead of a thing you pursued, instead of a thing you have attempted, right? But yeah, fortune cookie got me thinking about that, and I'm so not a fan of tarot cards and fortune cookies. I think our choices are what defines our future, not chance. Chance does get a vote, but in the end we get a choice, and often we choose against ourselves simply because it's easy to do. It's easy to do. And that's because some of us are more givers too than we take. You know, we've been spending all our lives giving. If you're a parent, you've been at least 18 years of your life you've spent giving. And again, you run out of time. And by the time you come around to wanting to do that thing, you're kind of over it. So I get it, but if you have the opportunity, I don't want to be long. I came down here actually to go live, and the signal was a little weak and technical difficulties and all that jazz. So I figured I would just talk about it on an actual episode. This was what I was going to talk about while reading and jotting down some notes anyway. But when we get an opportunity to get back to us, to give back to us and pursue that passion, whatever that thing is, we owe it to ourselves. If we've been honest with ourselves and we've been putting in the work, because there's two things that will expose you, right? Time and truth. If you've been slacking, time is going to expose you, right? If you've been putting in the work, it's going to reward you. And truth is like, I did another episode about truth too. Truth is like that creepy uncle in the corner just holding on to his drink during the holiday celebration, just looking at people weird, right? That's truth. Just waiting for that time to pounce. And when it does, kind of like your creepy uncle, truth has no filters, none, right? And it always sticks around. So those two will always at least bring you back to reality, all right? But no, when you get a chance, when you get the chance to get back to you, you should. You should. Because if you put in the work, like I said, if you've put in the work and not been slacking as your number one excuse, you'll be rewarded, and often probably pleasantly more so than you thought you would be. But I think we owe it to ourselves. And often, like I started out, we just don't. But a fortune cookie actually had me thinking about talking to you guys about it and seeing what you guys have been struggling with, if anything, in terms of pursuing your dreams. Some of us, the universe smiles on us and we get right after it and get to it. I mean, I've gotten mine. Don't get me wrong. I didn't bring up the episode because I haven't gotten mine. The point is, don't give up on it. Don't set unrealistic timelines and arbitrary timelines and lofty, unreachable goals. I know there's also the whole saying, you know, reach for the stars, and I totally support that. But within reason, right? We have to be rational, reasonable people. We live in an absurd world. The universe in and of itself is absurd. So things are going to happen, but when you get a chance, you need to do it. And until our next conversation, you be good out there. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk again soon. We'll see you.